Shouting out to I think
German.
my chair.
I mean, so German.
Yeah, both school kaka they hate right now.
Oh, I win here, pa. German, tell you, I say, these are new me,
And yes, sir. Go chroma.
There is heat wave plus economic heat wave. Heat waves in here too.
Heat wave plus
environmental heat wave and economic heat wave. Ukabumwa. Now double heat waves. These are the things we need to tell ourselves that it is well.
It is well. There's life.
Yes.
There's life.
Yeah.
Obviously, wishing Eva Vera Tete Fio of SIC Bob Freeman Clinic. Happy birthday to you. Eva Vera Tete Fio is from Mamisi of the Corporate Affairs Department. And to Zita from Our Lady of Mercy Catholic Choir is all from George coming to all of you. Have a good one. Miracles.
Senior.
Abum.
Ever do senior.
Agwe.
Oh, if we do boko.
Hey.
Oh, say what to?
I think heat wave unte.
Oh, senior say I think it will see the other
or say economic and environmental.
I bought tapes in from 2011 from that economic.
Oh, a bit of a quay or come.
No, me by a quay. But you people on several occasions concede
no, you've considered.
But you've considered.
Oh, senior.
Yes.
And that from because I mean last week they said what the cost was Suez Canal now.
Suez Canal then
is China ye crayfish. You see a route now into prices are double. And see it's causing a lot of problems for us. And that from sir because apparently routes don't use to buy African. They have to use one that is like double the distance.
That's more money
because of the tension between Israel and Iran. And see, the cost of shipping from Asia to Africa, you see, a double is a triple. It's a problem. What will baby do?
And exchange rate, no so.
I said that it's all part.
I think the exchange rate is about to say. Let me start from there.
Yeah.
Because when you say one of our favorite topics.
Yeah.
As a free fall, they say a freely follow pa.
Oh, Gemma, you see, I always make this point. Sometimes when you are doing exchange rate analysis, I say. Yen is as simple as possible. Send a crop better here. I didn't obi currency enya hondi echen obidia. It's because anka yen currency no so a currency that is convertible. What you could this as can no be a pressure ye who or a currency so anka tisa. But you use other currencies. Now currency is like a commodity.
Yeah. And
there are in economics there are a number of markets we have goods markets, capital markets, and even forex markets. And you call forex market home now the good are here trade a currency no. And just like any other goods market, demand and supply determine how much you charge and they determine price no.
Yeah.
See there is pressure on in fact the demand for dollar no akosrubium. But the problem, it's not the demand that really is the problem. But near a higher no is the supply side. There is not enough forex in circulation. And the time biya unhiya dollar, so because I could dija na dollar ni honum na, and the price of the currency goes up. And that would mean say the currency that you are demanding no, the value no appreciating, which means yours is depreciating. Wow, and no bona kosro. Tell me what she see no clear woman is Ghana's forex earnings. And now sika ye nyam every amanonim because of exports no. Eswati. Oh. And now it's even difficult. Look, sometimes now we had temporary you can say relief measures are etime emma exchange rate situation no yi kakra. To say we could go arrange for a syndicated loan. See syndicated loan trying to minya. What has here? And earnings from exports no so esote. Because some of the traditional exports, like cocoa, esote, there are a number of issues.
But also, you say, near more brave economy in the managing the account. No, Ebisu, I can say, until we stop politicizing the dollar. How about that?
No, say, baby, it's because we've mismanaged the economy. I've always said, sir, when there is this binge for borrowing, or when you become, a loan addict, and once when you see, when you are credit worthy, it doesn't mean that you have a blank check and you can always go and access money from the capital markets.
Just say, by heart.
By heart. Because Ubo Bisian can say, Ubo, we are so started to ya. Utriaswa, Sikan Okobon war, you can say, I'm on Sikim. Into Wootria, and your Ghana season, now do you call Kutriao? A year, a so Saka Krana, a Wahanum, Nadia Kutria. So a lot of the pressures are coming from our debt servicing, even though there are attempts to restructure yen debt, especially the foreign part of yen debt, But in the forms are still there are some other debt arrangements that we need to continue servicing. Oh, until kakra ba, and I told you I started with exports, our earnings from exports, Eswati. Until kakra ebebano, eso sasa eno, esadi kotua busia. Until at every point in time, economy it is starved of forex. And like I said, once there is starvation of forex in the economy, what results is higher prices of those currencies, which is your currency begins to depreciate. What you say? And the other issue is that, Chairman, we as a can ye. Ebimu so say when there is an end income, just sika we nyano enye sika wo modern bone ma onya asasika na adwuma wo yenti na onya asasika no ebimu ha when they have a great deal of an end income either through corruption or other illicit arrangements. Chairman, what they do ni say omu koto dollar now or they are questioning them
because it's a stronger store of value.
Exactly. Chairman, wabbing.
Mission.
Oh, wabbing. Oh, and you see, currency is a store has the it's a store of value. Sometimes and yet currency behind what that store of value.
Yeah.
And dollar being the world currency. In the sense that everybody
when
we shifted from the gold standard, the next reserve currency and any dollar. And the dollar they at every point in time our value. And to a end incomes now, normally a quarter dollar, find a way to take it out of the shores. And at the end of the day, kakra bano corrupt individuals are more save your musicano editor dollar nibi yensu kakra kano yediko service debt what has here and the other issue soon is until we transform our economy, and that is why I'm saying that this election, Chairman, our future as a country is depending on what is going to happen in 2024.
Now, sir, Vice President can say wa local dollar, and as they say dollar what free.
I teaching.
Is that the reason why we should start thinking about stopping the politicization?
Of course, me see exchange rate there. You can't do politics with it because you have no control over it.
But on the And a month for
I'm for the answer on Suba. But I would have expected that, Dr. Baumia, knowing very well, say, and being a good economist, say, you have no control over the how exchange rates fare and how they operate. You would be careful in making some of these promises. Chairman, the time I ran a fixed exchange rate regime, no?
Yeah.
And they will determine how much dollar is worth in your currency. But says here we are running a flexible exchange rate regime, which means that the value and the price of that currency, which is the exchange rate, is determined by market forces. And you call forex market no more. How much you demand and how much is available, and they determine how much your exchange rate is. What is here? And the idea won't need to determine no. You yen shabon fahum. But Abia, he said maybe his thinking was that looking at the performance, and in the first 2 years, to be fair, the economy, bounced back and was beginning to show positive signs. And Abia, nothing okoka say ya $2 and then I say for atum. But knowing that the currency is subject to shocks and that you don't have control over Sanumano, one would be measured in the way promises, no. But the other issue soon is one media I always say until, and there's also another problem, Chairman. One say even though Ghana is operating a flexible exchange rate regime, but yen is called controlled flexible exchange rate regime, which means Bank of Ghana sometimes auctions forex to help stabilize the risk and so on. And the yen is not fully flexible, and I feel that sometimes it also creates problems because the very minute central bank auction dollars no more commercial banks no any time biana they find their way into circulation. Eba na big clients are beji. What has here? What you can say central bank na say won't auction dollars to commercial banks no. They would be careful because omonim say terms can the command nipa bakwa. One year they'll be run on the bank. People would be demanding forex and we may not be able to answer our calls no. But omonim say there is always a central bank somewhere. I bet auction dollars are my. And I think it's also another problem. And the expatriation of profits so it's another problem. Chairman, expertise be been on me juma wo krom hanum no. Mprempi omunya omumfaso wana no mass sending into dollars until there is already a shortage of supply and a short supply of forex. Now there is a great deal of competition for it to disappear. Nyomudiko in the form of profits mika expatriacy near almost $2 no to save their corrupt process and illicit process. And sika yesadiko chiaka manonino enusu woho. And may I also say, I was going to talk about transformation of the economy. Chairman, this year we need to hear, and I mean here you can say politicians tell us when you are first to transform your economy. It's not just enough to say we need to transform the economy, but how? As I said, the biggest problem you can say the exchange your currency FAC is about the fact that our economy is hugely import based. What that means is Chairman, yesike omuntim fa China enko tohwe yentim fa yesike enko you can say even Nigeria even though in principle the West African Monetary Zone allows the 8 member states to spend their currencies in their respective in one another's countries they are not allowed. Who did Ghana see this called Nigeria yeah, so it tells you you need a third currency and a vehicle currency. Until you all did China bia dollar no shushato.
I didn't think China for any use dollar so near yes dollar alcohol.
Because
China for issue the yuan, right?
Yuan, yeah, I think.
Ain't you want to doing yuan?
I understand there were times the central bank was trying to make some arrangements and Ghanaians can China no can just straight away get yuan to go and
I think we
have such a but it's not effective
anyhow. But some of the forex bureaus they do change. If I talk about
it's not very popular. Because dollar because it's a reserve currency you can spend it anywhere.
Yes, but the young people don't really
what has here. And at some point so China decided to devalue their currency to make their exports competitive. Chairman, once you devalue your currency, dollar no, enya hondi chain yuan no. And nipa nikita yuan a dollar no call China, he gets more yuan and can buy more things. And people are not encouraged to do yuan transaction. He would prefer to go with dollars or do now or the dollars no akoto yuan. But I think that until such a time, you best start edging kwanya you best fasu replace some of the things we import. And we have tried import substitution. It worked up to a certain point. I think we need to come up with a new model that would have import substitution, built around the idea of comparative and competitive advantage. Until now, I was excited about this 1D1F. I thought the original idea is say, you bet me I should know ye bet me ayo krum hanum no nanka ya bua with state support and yes government should be very interested in it, invest even if you have to. What has here now at the end of the day new man be Chairman, no country has industrialized without some form of protectionism. There's no such country, and people who are advocates of protectionism always advance this argument. They call it the nascent industry argument. Say your industries need be you need to protect them to grow. Until we need to begin to think about to raise giants to produce locally so that you won't be a crab and you bet me say Ghana should be a Robinson Crusoe, like an island. We still would have to trade, but trade in those things that you can't produce. What is here?
Yeah.
And those that you can produce, empower locals to do so. And when you it's a spaghetti bowl. The solution to the exchange rate issue is a spaghetti bowl.
Meaning what?
It has fiscal issues that we need to address. How much we borrow. I say the way I borrow because borrow is so tria and home a tria principal no so count. That's one. We need to build our reserves. Gold Bank of Ghana. Ghana is a gold producing country. Now who can share gold reserves at Bank of Ghana. The other issue is how we import. Internal gas is both a fiscal and a monetary issue. It's a spaghetti bowl. Now, the rate at which people import, I say share and also ye. Chairman, to the extent that Uko port, our import duties are dollar indexed.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense to me. And I am happy that the MPP's candidate is saying he would de-dollarize the imports because it makes things unreasonably expensive. Once you begin to dollarize your imports, not just everything else is dollarized. So that's another fiscal measure that needs the attention of government. Whoever becomes the next why are we indexing our imports against the dollar? And the other issue soon is Chairman, we need to go all out on Nkrofua, how we even sell forex. Chairman, when you say UK, if you have dollars to exchange, and I'll bet $2. Chairman, if it goes beyond £1,000, you have to produce your passport.
But I think in some Kenya, Obeka say talk ya can't say in
Chairman, what say? I know so we need Obia who is an action man to say, look, these are the measures I'm bringing, and I'm going to see to the enforcement of these measures. Sir, this era whereby Obi Timiko Nipa Baku Timiko $200,000. SABC Nipa say, look, and even forex bureaus, there should be an arrangement. Say Nipa be taught beyond $10,000. SABC Nipa producing an ID, and some entity elsewhere should be interested, like financial intelligence unit, because for all you know, sometimes Nkrofo get drugs. Chairman, when they sell their drugs, they wash the money by going to buy safe currency. Your friend dollar. No, or they are called $200,000. No, they are called baby. Enti here to do business. Ebema exchange rate. Once there is enough dollar in circulation, the exchange rate is low. Until be chasing after fewer dollars, making the exchange rate rise. Nani pano onu di anse we sika na wakoton nro boni bi na we sika odi akoto dollar
enti na we nyina ye nim ne ka se ya bresu ye be ma na ye.
Chairman, you see, every government must promise to work on the exchange rate, because that, look, as a middle income economy, you can't afford to have your gains getting whittled away by exchange rate. Chairman, Ghana loses a lot just because of exchange rate differentials. Abain budget to Krana. Sometimes there are budget overruns, not because Abain intentionally is misspending and overspending. Just exchange rate differentials sometimes. Chairman, it's Abain budget sim. So it is important and very important for everybody to take the exchange rate management as an issue.
Now who calls them?
And I always say exchange rate is a monetary issue. But my view is that it is both fiscal. In fact, it's an economic policy issue, which means it's both monetary and fiscal. What you here? Now, Obiba no shabo say meye ni ye. Nipa no SSA and I can example. Efatese nipa no bekasa. Nemum, it is the measures. And don't politicize it to say oh, as soon as you happen, so anko ye media Muntumma mina mimi ba, I have the magic wand. Because you have no control over how exchange rates are determined. Ubetima ye new maybe to help you. But you cannot on your own say 10 cities or Chinamema 80s. When we run the fixed exchange rate regime, sana na yetimi. But fixed exchange rate regime, ye journey free because it results in currency crisis. It can easily lead you to currency crisis. And TSC are very flexible. And in the 1970s, countries decided to say, look, even Europe, they decided to go flexible in the 1970s. And you take away the control from government,
central
the
government.
market. Yes.
But the market is determiner, and as a market is the main determiner, the main driver. More money economics. And we say into BBC and ABC. Because if the market decides and they go 15, if the market decides about 10, market decides about 25, 80. At the end of the day, that's also the downside of it. How about that?
You see, said there are some measures you can do that market response to near air cost to the environment. So, for example, in the determination of exchange rates, economic growth counts, interest rates count, and so on and so forth. And this buying at me Emma interest rates forma. It reflects in how much your exchange rate. It reflects in your exchange rate. If the economy is doing well, it reflects in your exchange rate. What is here? And again, say I buy a dream say me kobo bisia bebre and I would be careful in the way I borrow. And also I want some so. And even though it is a market that determines the rate, but it is a function of a lot of factors. And these factors, you have a role to play. And Jamka say is a spaghetti bowl that includes monetary and fiscal issues. I think people final thoughts on just two quick things. ABC, you useless imports. Krania masebe. Yes. Now domestication and kabebo. That's one leg of it. Second leg, how then do you react to that famous line? If the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. It is true, and it continues to be true. Chairman Obia, who has had a stint with with economics, but we tell you, say there are different theories on exchange rate determination, but common themes and are common variables that run through all these theories, and they say you can't talk about exchange rate determination without talking about your economic growth rate. You can't talk about it without talking about interest rates. What is here now? And of course, exchange rate show implications on inflation. There's BBI friend passed through. And sometimes inflation has gone up and so on and so forth. Sometimes it is also because of the effect of exchange rate. And to say exchange rate it would be if your economic growth the exchange rate will tell you say there are issues with your economic growth. If interest rates are unreasonably high, you can tell that when the exchange rate is beginning to misbehave. What is here? And it is true. It's a valid economic statement to make. Say when the economic fundamentals are having issues, are troubled, you can tell that by looking at the exchange rate. And now I can say, the economy is troubled. What is here? That is why we are finding that the exchange rate is not doing well. And that statement is correct. However, if you know that this is the situation, so what do you do? Even though the market determines the risk, but there are some factors that cause the market to react. The market only responds to factors. And you don't want the exchange rate say bejinsem. What do? Work on your economic growth rate, work on your interest rates, work on your inflation and so on and so forth. Enti ninyina nebema we exchange rate no. The way you borrow, avoid becoming an addict of loans, so that you don't have to spend a greater percentage of your revenue on servicing debt. When you know, these are all you can say indicators or pointers of sound economic management, that your debt is within reasonable limits, that your exchange rate, your interest rate is within reasonable limits, and that again your economic growth rate is making some reasonable progress. What is here?
Matthias,
fundamentals near weak. It is for you. It was just in my view, it's a wake up call that this statement, which is true in economics, reminds you, says so peso exchange rate, you have to work on these fundamentals, because the exchange rate be jina. But if there is trouble, you can only tell. So when your economy is tempo, you can only tell, and now you can tell, say there are issues with my economy, the health of my economy, by looking just merely at the exchange rate. And this is a true statement.
Okay.
For me, it was a wake up call for government to focus on those fundamentals that will make sure that you have a stable exchange rate.
Atik Mohammed and his thoughts. Atik Medasianope. Good morning, Chairman General. When it comes to CD against the dollar, we have to look at the bigger picture. My good friend Atik has said it all. Government has to start thinking about helping local industries to grow. How can we even continue to import toothpick? Maybe the government has to start supporting Ghanaian businesses to grow, because as Ghanaians, our money stays here, but foreigners repatriate all their monies. There's also this thing about banks dealing on the black market. We have to find a way to stop it. Kwame Frimpong, AK Buffalo. Now, Kwame, our local producers must also do their best to produce good quality and standardized goods so as to compete. Their finishing of their products also has to be up there. Kumali in Kumasi. Not much physical dollar moves from Ghana to the outside market. Most of the problem is with offshore funds. If we have more offshore funds, there is stability. If we have low offshore funds, there's instability. Steve, tell Atik the only action man to transform Ghana is Kennedy Japan. Okay, Michael Ashalaja. At the point, Kennedy Japan is not in the reckoning. I like Atik simplifying the dollar rate system. However, we're in a country where everything is imported. So these are some of the weak fundamentals of the problems that exist. Until we resolve it, nothing positive will happen. Daniel Ochre, Ga East Hospital. This one says, Kwame, good morning, Chairman General. The key determinants of the exchange rate are 1, trade deficit, 2, current account deficit, 3, productivity, and 4, external debt and reserves. Well, here's somebody who deals in the money market and understands it. Thank you for your thoughts. Miracles.
Senior.
Yampoe. So the means oh Bamianti na buy.
Senior, a friend say. Na Ghana phone so. Insu nyame kakra.
Ada nyame ayo da no pay.
Se don't be no pay. Say Ghana phone bi percent dollar ko. Tesiri ko mbetu bri akọ de bia me kasa se mu ha okọ Lagos Avenue omo yo madwen se nne ye de one city beto so a fiti satem ya akọpem 1 o'clock okọ bia beka je so ni dollar omo nyina na oni omo WhatsApp platforms association say chamber of forex bureaus omo WhatsApp platform na ebo be 2 p.m. one after there you need to do some swift transfers to suppliers. Why are you desperate? Interfere okwa also we $100,000 be but the amount e be at 13. Me one ka 12 dan can say your turn because once what time so time lies so no now so what. Obviously once what bar all the sa extra one cedi no e be 2 near man so.
Tell your business.
Banks no so ka ho. Nti make us Ghana for enka no credit kakra no. Enei ope dollar unye bi obango. Wow, bankers, there is no bank be like Atik said. In other places, you walk in with your passport, and then you do clean transaction. And the question is, dollar no mojifi BOG no. Omo de coin. Businessmen in nyanto, individuals omo be to coin so I omo de enso nyanto. Na enye do bank wa na forex bureaus na be fako. enye du ya na forex bureaus na be fa ko ense me de me ma kom nyina afra enye du ya o na mo be fa ni nyina akọ na abochi dollars owo no o bank nkure ni bi dollar abochi nko a betumi na chairman unsi abochi na abochi bie $10 million which are we measure
me who be there
ai
chairman just you need to just tell me $10 million
obenyama
get it for you
obenyama nti the like I think kai no or say there was a spaghetti
just spaghetti bowl
talia bowl I didn't different but once we work at all the principles now I think I can once making sure that the fundamentals in there it is too weak and it takes a while to fix the fundamentals. I mean you can't spring up industrialization in 10 years all over the world. Getting industrialization going, you're looking at between 10, 15 to 20 years. Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, and we in Akrampo now the near maybe kika. You need to build your human resource base. You need to make sure that your health is solid before you're able to get there. It's something that is work in progress. We need to keep at it. And see a truncated process. But shall we begin to look at the Niaman Ketengete? And then we share inflation. Niama a pushy inflation cost no. They had we be apple. Any Ketengete I mean the binti grapes.
Grapes.
Apple, grapes, whiskey, wine. Senior, Sunday made a pushy at no cost rule. And to the beer now be someone say democracy ni liberal market no crown no. Ne crack run say because baby fufra I can no understand no pebi o man penny no sorry or say the next 6 months obi amfa grapes in Bagana obi amfa apple in Bagana obi amfa whiskey. The point is these things say amfa mba na ye nia ye betumi survive ya na because sometimes when you go and look at the list of Niama ye kra no na senior how much millions of dollars are ye de kra grapes.
And the German can useless imports. Yeah, my dear.
I am dear. Yeah, the class on your man. The question is that men can't say who here. Men person be back as a wound this cow say mommy. Person be back as actually say miniskate me say ice cream uncle Adrian. That's all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is for the sake of your economy, no, especially at a time where you say the foundation is being fixed and is work in progress, you know. In the short term, no, can we do something about these things? I think say it's time for the Ministry of Trade, it's time for the Ministry of Finance, it's time for leadership to look at some of these things. Unfortunately, sanema we compare on hasem na ko faba. Sanema we nyina aka ho na democracy ni ho. Your problem my cap ke bi mem ke bi no ko faba ne opposition esom. I edu o man bless omo si enjoy apodi. Almost enjoy whiskey. Then also, I don't cross you another topic. And when it happens this way, then it always blackmails the political class. Because Oba Beye ni yemushishono say okofaba back of issues are bringing. We can't continue to. The only reason why we are going through this whole thing, because we are imported. Oh, you free was the only reason I don't know.
2 years ago.
You free was
2 years ago, Professor Smart Sapon, then Dr. Smart Sapon. Kumasi Technical University. Okay, same be what you show you so Echo Peace FM online say the real thing is that it is the black market that controls the dollar economy in this country, and that until we are able to also look at that one,
but that's absolutely true. And I make us see actually about even chamber of a friend say forex bureaus here in India. Senior, me see obi kura $10 million. Why about you? Now usia na omo ndwin kwa say bi ono obeti mama 5,000 cedis kra. They don't look it. I think there's who do airport shell. Kutoka hona. Messi or $10 million. Obenya sesama. Odo pa urani masisi anakasa ope $50 million. Na hwese obuntu mi sesama wa. Until all these carry generation for
you form a consortium and raise it for you.
They will raise it for you right now. Small bills and the big bills. How much I say oh yeah, small. They have the money. They have the money.
I free him.
So much and I make us say banks for credit, they know.
Of
they
course.
know.
Sometimes the banks do transactions.
Senior, so we are there no. If I'm just can fi BOG, never do bank wa no more releasing in our partners no in the black market. Ebaya no more release yamomo in the black market. So the businessman that is even saving with the bank is not even getting enough dollar from one bank to send to the suppliers. Just we PF bank wo abesiako Nima, abesiako Madina, and say what you mean is cano. Because these guys are holding the money and they know say being hunting. Control price. That is the problem. Control price because they been here. Enti yeah Kenya answer no. Na yeah kebi so actually yeah friend saying yeah citizens no. I wonder how many countries you can just go and freely change money like we change in this country. To me China says oh do now cost $100 to yuan. Na say we na say yuan ni bi aka. Na to me say the only way you can change it back to dollar and it's our passport any receipt I the mao time I was first one. That's the only way you can change the money back. So if for example you enter Beijing now $1,000 now cost a sign to yuan maybe amount 10,000 yuan. Now say we'll spend 5,000 but you need to leave the country. It's not easy to change it to the 5,000 yuan back to dollar. And then so didn't
you need to have the
your only way they say ukra passport now ukra receipt now. Actually say what's $1,000 no and then you walk into the place before they can say okay you best say back amount.
Say China so democracy share anyhow.
Exactly.
Oh,
and almost no me dey kasem.
Democracy to aba.
Kebi. David.
To aba.
I know almost some are very industrialized.
Yes, the facade democracy, but nonetheless,
yeah, define your mind.
Aha. We are so abeka kurum. You best sound local.
Oh, yes,
a very facade democracy, but nonetheless, it's still democracy.
Democracy. To aba. Yeah, the no crowd share. It's a say you're customizing your democracy. My own kakra. It's a say you're customizing the kakra. You have found a hook, line, sinker. And I implementing it. Send you implementing it. Send you throw books. You know, political science. How many articles you know? They are brought for throw book. You know, and then I implement you. But we forgot say you know you are him for now. Brought for him for. We forgot. Say you traditional authorities are him for. Brought for him. When you look at our democracy, we've kicked our traditional authorities to the side. Now they are fighting to find expression in the sort of governance we are running. We push them aside. You say. Senka per se a customizer and we could have taken cognizance of the kind of governance structure to formulate democracy. And to me China fund there honestly I think they are actually practicing democracy except that in a certain way. It's only not a multi-party democracy but it's a democracy. Before you get into the political class you do go school. So who did two months of school now? Ube to me akwa na ufemu na uwia. Now crowd documentation certification and say what to me I file say over contesting within the party for ABA mayor.
Are you beginning to accept politicizing the dollar? It will hurt.
No, I'm saying that I'm a political science student. That's what I read. I've read it. I'm saying that democracy and political system running and problematic. And unti ena edumayeni ekodi bone ewo na edumem. Na politician beka na dwumaye ni union atrolete say woni hu kwan say obeka enunti na ne ya me na oti hei obi agi ni new citizen sika or passport office or giniska 5,000 and so your passport na eseso ye man no but ye ka ye bebo ayokobo twedin nso ayokobo twedin passport office ye politics ye system na ye run no na ye problem enti whether it's politicization of the dollar whether it's the politicization of everything that we do to the point that even today public servants are no longer accountable to the people and you can't even talk about them, you can't touch them because you unionize it into work or kakra or problem. Senior, it's a serious problem. It's something that if we don't deal with now, problems are the brain. Sisi ano ekamia ko yete say obi ya de akra na say wedi bone a this was association oni association part let us say no he can do whatever he wants to do in this country
and get away with it
and you can't talk about it. Now politicians are even afraid to even fix our own institutions because when you go and raise concerns about the institution you have the unions and the association writing long press releases and these are Ghanaians. Why should I be afraid? Are we not aware that this morning as you speak GRA is harassing a GRA officer is somewhere in the doom harassing a trader? Why should I find a difficulty in saying it? Why should I be afraid to talk about the fact that today there's a police officer somewhere standing in front in a traffic light somewhere and harassing a citizen.
Just senior,
I didn't say me, and I'm so passionate about this matter. You have no idea why. I didn't say me say nurse DB, ACCOB nurse ni B. I will be tin any health insurance or the health insurance na benti or tientiano, and you can't talk about it. Okoka, Obenya Association no mature press release. Why? Why should it only be the political class who should respond to some of these things? Why? Identity into me can wasem. Obi e di bone pa o ye nyina ni tua. Say we di bone. Asem no court. Nipa no onye na union aba ya be trust statement. Say wo kan eyeye. Businessmen say mo tete yen. Ampa ya hihye mra say koje to. Na mo yakasa wo kwa akosisi nipa no.
Any side evaluation now
mo. What nipa no to e wo
5 years ago.
Na nipa na yi ni your my report. Na wa ba bedru ne shop. What did the about the shop?
Yes.
Was it one out here? I made a man out here. I went to the year to Fabican. Make a car. Was say me a politician. Intimate to me. Why? Now union a troll letter.
Release. You come and say 5 years ago. Why evaluate?
Why are we doing this to ourselves? To me can once a move. Now oko kape when your problem. We speak and we can't even mention. Doctor near the bonnet, usro say obeka because oka Ghana Medical Association be better letter. GRA ni be the bonnet, usro because oka GRA ni be better letter. A friend is saying ECG ni be the bonnet, ye nim wo chroma say ECG for your connection. Ye nim wo chroma say as I speak to you, ye nim wo chroma say ECG for your connection. Don't we know? Even prepaid the eka was a senior prepaid. You have ECG officers who go to the homes to tamper with the prepaid meters for the users, for the consumers. Omo onyema bi omo yusu ebi mu kra Mastercards bi omo kra Mastercards, you know the prepaid card, ebi mu kra Mastercards bi, they are able to use it to tamper with the prepaid so that the consumers pay less. Yenim, don't we know about these guys who go and bypass the system with some other cabling bia ebia wo fie on wo fridge mienu miensa and so ba kope NFL. Why can't I talk about it? Why should everything just be Bahama and a Kufuado, Mahama and a Kufuado? How about the citizens who are working and implementing the laws? Omo implementing brano. Omo that they into come asem. Ade, ukoka teacher ni asem sisi a, yes a nagrat, yes a nat, yes a tewu, yes a say. Untumi nko bi asem o my way mu. Just for a politician. The only persons who can be spoken about are the politicians. Why?
Chairman General, what Miracles is saying is a view I've held for some time now. Public and civil servants are more corrupt and exploitative than the politician. But we always blame the politician. Most of the issues we blame politicians for are perpetrated by public servants. Sasa, because at the end of the day, it is the politician who comes to me for my vote. That is why people think that, well, if anything goes wrong, I might as well blame the politician.
But you see, then the citizens have a responsibility to work with the politicians to fix these things. Senior, very important. And untina, I thought be as how bogus statements and some of the unions release no more. Some of them they are just blackmail, pure blackmail. No more better bro for tin now you must ye be juma. Ye tools better from young Juma. I was watching a video on TikTok today about Singapore
Lee Kuan Yew,
where the airline
Singaporean air pilot
threatening say
oh you mean that
is a shut airline down now mon 2 weeks time Mary resuscitate na ma find him.
But you know why it worked?
Why?
There was no 4 years.
Exactly, that is what I am talking about. It's back to the point.
About the need to customize our
democracy.
Problem,
nobody threatened him with
no, yes.
No, we had that opportunity and we lost it.
It is where we are. It is what it is.
Yeah, and we had that opportunity and we blew it with Rollins. But I think going for President Kufuor, suggest TBB. Maybe we don't have to be all American in a democratic setup. Instead of 4 years, we can do it 7 years renewable and have 7. And also, even though it has this downside.
After 7 years, there should be no renewable.
That's the thing.
No,
I'm just saying. So,
the only reason why this country has been going back and forth, a blackmail, political blackmail.
Oh yeah, that was.
And because you see, do you know what happens? Yet Bibi to me by the way at the pa. By maybe opposition party straight away, no. Make sure be a public sentiment war.
No,
I'm quite joining you. So I just hear. Me join you, we are not my boy because no be more you way free.
Usuba, you get trapped
now
in the same thing.
You'll be trapped in the same thing.
Like how you are trapped
and
today.
now you're complaining. Say, why are you guys speaking against it? Meanwhile, you were speaking against
You'll
it.
be trapped in the same thing. And for me, one of the biggest thing in the public service, I wanted unions. Now saying clock sag. I think one of the districts, if you lower him mind something, staff why you bonny to say be what despite media. Now it says a reporter be. I said we a news editor, we you maybe 1 year. Now the way the news editor can deal with the reporter and make sure say appropriate sanctions. No, maybe what me district. Now maybe MC. Now obi here juma 1 year juma ni ye. Me say wo ejuma crowd. They said I am penti me pesa me no crowd be ejuma. Yan fan ko crocs aka say one man nipa na ntena sa district ni mu a ye nyina e strike. What is the logic in that? What really is the logic in that? Why should I be? I didn't say me chief executive. Now me need control over my human resource and their performance. Me human resource and performance. Including in the public sector, do you know the mantra? Odi bone ye den kra, the worst case scenario transfer.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario, what hana ye transfer. There are no proper KPIs. There are no proper appraisal systems. You need proper way you to make us say no sanction regime. Omo promotion so my 5 years with time as me go interview. My 5 years with time as me go interview.
It is what it is.
6 years with time as me go interview. The promotion is all like peace FMA. Ebia, you show reporters in say akwa we there. The whole year, na dwuma year na so ani, ya appraiser no on your 80%, 90%. Enti yema promotion you consider some microphone no
you see there's a similar case Kolebu. They were looking for an accountant and obi apply. Of course they would always request applications. Nipana oye head of finance placed 5th, which means that you are not qualified. And edima we fufro association is here Omodi Kolebu Kokrokoo because Nipano Yamfe Manamano. What kind of entitlement mentality is this?
Yes. They will do that.
But German, Yaka Exchange Minister Kabibi, he needs to slow down.
Hey,
in your opinion,
why?
Anta, so slow down.
What's the thing?
Or see the depreciation this year is better than last year. On slow down. So slow down. Yenim say asamaba. Asemba so to the say nya
put. You want to jebeta.
There been a time say media when I me
can you miss no complain other ones he was comfortable.
He was comfortable because now come on no. In the meantime
CK ya omukase omo de beboa yin.
Why sika?
IMF for CK. Agosi saying.
IMF guys on pay.
Oh. Enti eno so kan the you know the way and manner ye releases and the releases no chama ye tin kakraka tot and is unable to help cushion the economy.
Obi an yo sa.
Me jitum can overrate that your higher power.
So
oh where you are high and brutal.
Obi the SB
what said you mean union and they are swa anta bro bebre.
SB Ejipong, member of the Council of Elders, NDC USA. Meanwhile, Ambassador Chairman General, long time indeed, yes, senior, very long time. The lamentation by Miracles Abuaji is a sign of leadership failure. If you fail to enforce the laws, the situation will remain the same for years. It's as simple as that. Now, this one says, okay. 1 2 Odeshi, Mama 5 minutes, then I'll be carried to.
Oh, the Becca say, Bino Casey, your flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bamia, address clergy or upper East region. And see, still are Ogunitono, so and then a 10th region. Upper East is the 10th region, Wako.
10th region.
10th region, Wako. Nti oguswa oba pro ene Ghana for edin komo etwato adwen chiro mudi nti a ogidi say ono no the best person to lead this country, and I strongly believe say one of the best things that will happen to us going into the future would be to have Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as president of this country. Senior Embrace will say you have more opportunity now you to me a certain long haul of consistency in Yayasha CIA na yentwa so prekope some mistake ni be in 2008 ebra yamma omampeni kofo ekwan Emma Nabai Antoine Yepa now start here. Ɔmanpanin Kufuor actually started fixing our fundamentals. In fact, even in terms of education, started here. My basic education became actually free, and ensured say it increased enrollment. It provided solid infrastructure at that time to make sure that a lot more Ghanaians will get educated to improve our skill base as a country. Obekaya or improve your financial sector now to the extent say, see now Wofia, now Barclays Bank, Standard, Fidelity, Access Bank, they come home to come and ask you to come for loans. In fact, your phone so crash that's how far Ɔmanpanin Kufuor took us. I was making the point earlier on about how Ɔmanpanin Kufuor ebeyi your normal bebree na enkoyi o my way mu free ho. Yeah, health, which is one of the crucial things in fixing the fundamentals. Ɔmanpanin Kufuor be free to make sure say obi abenya access to good quality health without poverty being a hindrance.
Going forward,
you know, you do 2008 Robenia challenges, the same exchange rate challenge. If you recall, Ɔmanpanin Kufuor came to 2008. Obe encounter Wall Street crisis, the global economic crunch in 2008. Now America for more real estate issues here by any idea. The same exchange rate wahala. Emma, fuel prices cry issue to cost. In fact, on look at the demand in the near West cry and say fuel prices in the course were size short here. In to be EQ, bare 3 days as I am 1 gallon petrol amato. Emma in so.
See a cabamion. See a cabamion. We have a time calling him.
Short here. The point, it is very important. This is very important because mistake a year and they say, it's one is our challenges in Ɔmanpanin Kufuor experience here near my in 2018. Ye refi near my way nina. I'm here to about you another Danko Kufuor. And what it meant was that for 8 good years, and the partner can not Danko Kufuor, the better sa foundation now Ɔmanpanin Kufuor yes or no. Sa 8 years ye losing nina preoccupy. To the point that Edu baby no. Na financial sector for a best say a whole loan no afei de omagu banks ni guye we see kakra odi akwa wakwa deposit krampo no kwadi awunya de ekanyina ne say yemma Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia kwan industrial drive na ya share ye no he is a firm believer in it and they ye automobile companies a oma share ye omo ye assemblant e wo my way mu e be take a while before omo be tintim na enya omo effect no and they anya hwe krampo no. There's a deliberate strategy to ensure, say, private sector air driving industrialization. At least I can count 160 of them. At least in my constituency, in my district, I can point to about 2 of them. Yeah, man, quite now on bet to us, Sanyama way so. Yeah, yes, I need chasso. Near Sunday, NDC for bar. The Ombe and the Ombe see a chia quitty another 8 years. Now, your bar, your sounds of brass, your befele, sa vacuum. And this is why a better 2 weeks in Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia echi fa omanya fa ne nyina ne Ghana fo di nkomo se alabraka momma ono so fa ne de kakro betumi aye no embra ne yenhwe after all nia one ne kwakopre no waba be ye Ɔmanpanin da de obetumi aye bia wa ya ma yehuda de ono so wone nsase bia wa ya ma yehuda yenim de besi echina enti ono na onyan ye bi pen no ye ma ono so kwan na ono so ni nim de kakra wo no ono so fa beka ho empo ono de se oba owo ho kwan se osan ba biem nti oya de na obadwe ho mienu ehu se se osan ba be pre ye ho abato biem na Ɔmanpanin da John Dramani Mahama de senior ono okwo we a onko biem o na ba ko ni mpo okwo ya na obese aba biem mpo hwe ko de ye fa so minti obi a mi odwan funu se ni na we a no no oba yenya so ni impe oni accountability bia ma yem biem on fire ya because you can imagine the ordeal he could put us through, and that is a risk. As I put you through. Send your baby and say, me who young cano. Your my Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia kwan. No, so only dear kakrano. On be twice of mine.
Miracles with that say. I think Yampon.
Lady can say just quickly on Dr. Bawumia. He in topics I'm doing. Baku says Bawumia promises 30% expenditure cut when elected. Chairman, I may be, almost say Obia Oti economics kakra. I say kakra. You would appreciate, say, this is not a bad promise, but it has to be founded on some things. Sometimes there's a need to incur some expenditures, but given your present situation, it makes every sense to want to cut expenditure. As I say, it is because of excessive expenditure. And our budget overruns in Tina Yakubu Bisia Yakubo Bebribi. So if you want to bring the economy back on track, there are two things you need to do. Either you do them simultaneously or do one at a time. Either you increase your revenue and you cut down on expenditure, or do both. And in Prempi, what we do, or what we have failed to do as Oman say, yentimin cut it down on expenditure. Abain to me budget TBB, Ubenhua, Eko, na there are, overruns and the rest of it. Until one of the painfully important Nyoma Ebetimiya as Oman to bring back the economy on track, and say Shasiye, a cut down on expenditure. We budget for them, but they are not priority projects. Maybe with this approach, the focus would begin to be on priority projects. Yet to me, cut it out on campaign-inspired promises. We are forced to spend on Sanumana. Ideally, anchor priority projects. No. I think this approach is very important, and we should begin to, urge our leaders to give us strategies and ideas on what they would do to bring back the economy on track. Now, finally, Electoral Commission registration ending in some summer ecoso. Emi said there were some errors, arithmetic errors, or typographical errors in the calculation of the total number of Nkrofo registered in a particular period. No, and among Nkrofo be buhu.
Yes, a calculated strategy by the EC to rig elections.
Chairman, I some we ma ka. Demonizing the Electoral Commission is not profitable for anybody.
Are you sure?
There be that. Chairman, who say Electoral Commissioner? Any free corona and ebesa share about to no. Until who say na? Can say you are threatening our democracy? Because a key tenet of our democracy is having regular elections. And not just elections, having free, transparent, and fair elections. And to say the referee now or conducting elections needing because you feel it's politically expedient to do so, no. When yes, you chown takramaria, unwi nambia yo. Until you say electoral commissioner, nobody saying say do not hold the electoral commission to account. But when we deliberately create impressions, as I say, Amanyo Sementi. Yankasa abatwa ye komui BBC krana electoral commission na maye lusu ye. You are not, look, you can't set the stage to you can antagonize the electoral commission and to set the electoral commission against the public. And yadia eboa mumma ye nyina ye nhwe say electoral commission yen creation omu ye adwuma mayen bebia omu adwuma no etosini no yentinitini omu yemfrɛ wom. And let's draw the attention to things we feel say but me sure say electoral commission out of the way. Beshada say my calculations been wrongly. Registration figures how does that amount to helping somebody to win an election?
Yes, I'm more testing on rigging equipment.
Now, when you thought you had seen it all, this Saadi, I don't know. Look, and Chairman, I have been, involved actively in politics before, I left the PNC, and I know, say, Electoral Commission, Chairman, rigging of elections, Ben saying, say, work when you're 2, Electoral Commission when you're 4.
You can do it.
And I mean, how is the Electoral Commission going to rig the elections?
Chairman,
because we've got to a point. Even when, look, Ghana's election has evolved. When we were doing opaque ballot boxes, that was when Nana man for me snatchy ballots, staffy ballots, and Sanuman says, "See, I want to mean staffy ballots." Nay, the Kosher school, then be more be a new or now you have fate, says, "See, it is in the full glare of the public." Obi and the you can say boxes are transparent. Obi at me who womb. We are a kind of bakumi no obi our agent who now recorded a party worth is sought. A war tabulation center be or Musu agents, they will transfer the results to them. Until before the electoral commission, Eddie Omudi and Bebanukrano. Now you already have a fair idea of where you stand. Until electoral commission every elections and the same. All I am saying is let's support the electoral commission, but point them to mistakes are omuye. Not because we do so, not because you feel say electoral commission episode bu obi and I rig elections no more be, but because we feel it's in our collective interest for electoral commission to be near perfect, not perfect, but to be near perfect.
Okay,
but when we make
let me wrap it up now this morning. I think next week we'll because
AI the fighting
I'll come to that next week. Now catch a miracle so next week. Squadron leader George Anania J, happy birthday to you. God bless you richly. Squadron leader George Anania J is from your father, Brigadier General George J, and the entire family. Wishing God's blessings on your life. Squadron leader George Anania J. And then also this one says, happy birthday to Mrs. Evelyn Owusu Kokrokoo, aka Auntie Senna of Tantra Hills. Auntie Senna of Tantra Hills, aka Mrs. Evelyn Owusu Kokrokoo. Happy birthday to you. It's from your entire family, your children, and also from Auntie Jessie of Mamprobi. Daniel, morning, Lo. 4 minutes past 11. We're done for the week. The news is on at 12. Kofi Kumbilson is next. Yadamasio Fiti Juada Besi and Nefia da Moniana Yejuma. May your day be blessed, may your weekend be good. Remember to keep your dreams and hopes alive, it's all you have. And my prayer for you is always in the book of Numbers in the Bible. Numbers 6:24-26. And hey, when you stop to say a prayer, remember to say one for me too. Have a good weekend. Back on Monday, God willing. God bless. Good morning.